Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and I am super excited for this video because I just got in what might be the craziest Bionicle package that I have ever received in the mail. Eagle-eyed viewers might have spotted something we just walked past in the intro that is a hint towards what's to come, but I kid you not, this package has some of the coolest, craziest, and just all-time desirable items personally I never thought I'd own, and even some stuff I didn't even know about. I actually will also be able to share a lot of information about the cost of some of these items, as well as where I got them from, so if you're looking to be able to pick up something like this, or wanting to understand the value, hopefully this is a way for folks to go back and look at a historical price accuracy metric in terms of how were these obtained. So let's dive into this crazy LEGO Bionicle package right now. Okay, so here's a look at the first batch in this series of packages that kind of all arrived at different times, and some from different sellers that I all kind of wanted to group together in one video, so this is just a start. What you're looking at here cost me around 5,000 US dollars, and that is mostly due to just a couple of items. It's kind of crazy, but I did manage to get a lot of these other items as well, so let's go through them one by one. For around $30, I got the sealed Fiku poly bag from 2001. Super cool to see that, and of course I had to pick up Good Guy as well for like 35 US dollars sealed. Absolutely could not say no. This is kind of an iconic character in the Bionicle community at this point. It was only given away during particular restaurant giveaways and even with some batteries in some states and regions, so it is really interesting to see stuff like that, and that's where a lot of these other poly bags come from. You have your Bad Guy, which was a Duracell 8-pack AA battery promotion. This one was only around 20 bucks, again, new and sealed, and one of these days I do want to have a sealed Bionicle collection. Obviously, as you know, I try to open up everything and display them on my channel, but for Bionicle being one of my favorite themes and having some of the coolest packaging ever, I definitely do want to start a sealed collection at some point. Maybe not anytime soon, but this will be really good to start it off because these are some of the rare items. This is another Bad Guy poly bag, and this one was actually given away in a Scandinavian Disney magazine. I got this one for around 40 bucks, and I'm pretty happy with that because I like the colors on this one. The dark red and cute orange actually looks really good for the character, even though it is just a really simple thing. This was one of the weaker gimmick poly bags. It is the Squid Launcher Function poly bag that was just given away during some promotional events around the US. Again, this one was only around $40, so not too crazy for a sealed poly bag from 2007, but again, it's really cool because I didn't really own any of these poly bags sealed before, so I was really happy to get those. I also was able to get some of these sealed Happy Meal promotional toys, like this was Toa Jaller, only 6 bucks for this one, so pretty nice to get that, again in the packaging fully sealed, which I probably will keep sealed. What you're seeing on screen here are some of the only items I might actually choose to keep sealed myself because, again, it's just really cool to have them like this in the bag. Same goes for Toa Holly, which was another McDonald's promotion around 2006 advertising the Toa and Nika, and there's going to be one more we'll take a look at in a second, which is Toa Matoro. Each of these all had their own unique functions, which was really interesting. Another super cool item I got here was an original LEGO Bionicle McDonald's bag promotion, which had a card pack for the Bionicle trading card game. You can see it says Mighty Kids Meal, and that was one of the coolest items I was able to pick up. Again, it's just kind of rare to just see that appear for sale, so I'm really happy to have been able to add this one to my collection. Don't really know how I'm going to display it. Maybe I'll like frame it at some point and add that on, but it is super cool to just add this in, and it wasn't that expensive either. To be honest, I'm forgetting exactly how much I paid for this one, but if I don't remember, it probably wasn't a memorable amount. I definitely think it was just easy to add this one on to my bulk purchases, and it's a really cool, very obscure and random item to add to my collection. And now moving on, we have actually one of the rarest items in this haul, and this is a promotional sealed Kanoka disc launcher poly bag. And this contained an exclusive plain transparent red Kanoka disc. Now obviously you can rub the printing off of the one that came with Toa Metru Vakama, but you know this is the legit one because it comes sealed in the bag. There was only one way to obtain this all the way back in 2004, and that was if you purchased a copy of the French Bionicle magazine published by Panini Comics in France. So yeah, super random, super rare. I don't really even know what the story is as to why LEGO would make this. The copyright stamp on the bag is 2002, whereas the item itself actually only released in 2004, which makes sense because the actual Kanoka disc launcher released then. So I don't really know what the deal was there. That one was around $700 US, but I'm really happy to add that to my collection as a very special item. Next up, we have an official Bionicle 2001 pin, and this one was a pretty cheap one. It was only 15 bucks, but it is an official LEGO item. I don't really know what the circumstances of its release were, but I would imagine it's something that could be sold at something like Legoland or one of the other promotional LEGO events. Over here are two sealed copies of the polybags included on the Bionicle magazines. I actually got these magazines when they first came out when I was traveling through Europe, but I obviously opened up the polybags attached, and I wanted to actually have the sealed versions of the polybags, so I was able to pick these up. The Scorpion one was pretty cheap. It was only around $12, versus the Ikimu Falcon one was actually around that same price as well, so I was pretty happy with picking these up at a very good price in my opinion, especially because that's around how much I would have paid just to get them right off the shelf if I were to find them in Europe. So super cool to see that. Also very weird that the comic art here was just reproductions of the actual comic books they released. These magazines are ones they do for pretty much all of the original LEGO themes and the big licensed ones as well. So we get a Ninjago one, we get a Star Wars one, and back in the day we got a Chima one, Nexo Knights, Hidden Side, Dreams, and so on and so forth. So it was really cool for LEGO to do a Bionicle magazine, but again, it is pretty obscure, definitely not something that ever was released in the US, and they only ever had 2 issues because the Bionicle magazine started, obviously was planned to last a lot longer, but when Bionicle G2 was canceled, they decided to cut the magazine short. So very, very sad that it only got 2 issues where clearly they were trying to do this as an entire magazine series, but alas, it simply wasn't meant to be. Flipping through these magazines is actually really cool. I'm a big fan of the Ikimu Falcon build because that actually is canon to the G2 storyline and show, so of course it was really cool to actually have this as an official set build, and it looks really good as a build as well. I think it's a really solid small Bionicle build. The Scorpion's a little hit or miss. I'm not the biggest fan of the Scorpion, but the Falcon is genuinely super cool. The comic inside did not whatsoever tie to the sets being released at the time because again they were just reusing the 2015 comics, which really goes to show that the real steam behind this theme was kind of burning out. These were kind of just put together with pre-existing material, and clearly LEGO already was not super enthused about putting this together as an actual piece of promotional material, and maybe it just signed the agreement with Blue Ocean, the company that makes these magazines, to do one for Bionicle before they realized they were going to cancel it, but by the time they had to produce it, they realized the theme was basically on its way out. Look at that, they're advertising the Ninjago magazine in here. They know where all the kids are actually wanting to go. From there though, that pretty much summed up the first part of this haul, but there was a little bit more to go through because the 2 rarest items in this haul are yet to be enclosed. This was crazy. You see, moving aside all of these just general release materials here, there were a couple of special items I was able to pick up, and the first 2 of which are actually some items I've wanted in my collection for a long, long time. But I feel like maybe I should save those for a little bit later in the video, because of course we even have a different cool prototype development piece of Bionicle history here that I bought for around $300 US, and that was an original prototype Colgate toothbrush stand with the original development drawings for the masks used in the toothbrushes signed by the designer of the toothbrushes. If you don't know what these are, back in the day LEGO was doing all sorts of random promo material for Bionicle, and one of those promotional pieces was this set of toothbrushes produced in conjunction with Colgate. There was actually a 4th one planned for Toa Takanuva, but unfortunately for whatever reason, that never came to be. Keep that cancelled Takanuva toothbrush in mind because it's a surprise tool that will help us later in this video. First off, I just want to emphasize just taking a look at the concept artwork for the toothbrushes here. I am at the point of my Bionicle collecting journey where this is the kind of stuff that really interests me. I own every set and multiples of the sets to make all of the alt models and the combo models, and I also have my own models as well, plus the fan-created canonized ones, and so at this point, I am all in for collecting the weird Bionicle stuff, and this set of toothbrushes was right up my alley. So not only is this actually one of the initial test versions of it, obviously these are the final packaging iterations, fully sealed, but they did come directly from the toothbrush designers, but it also does have that really cool artwork showcasing them trying to design what a Bionicle toothbrush would look like. I don't know about you, I feel like brushing my teeth with like a Kanohi mask on my toothbrush would just be kind of inconvenient, but I think it is really cool that they actually factor that in and made them fully branded, because that was what LEGO was doing back in the day. You can see the way it works where the Kanohi masks go over a specialized toothbrush cap, which then rests over the brush itself, so you can actually have it be capped when it's not in use, and those are the heads underneath. Really interesting how they use the design of the original Toamata heads, but in fully transparent colors, which I think is super cool. Great, clean, made fun was the tagline here, and I think that is pretty fitting for this. LEGO doesn't really do anything like this anymore. I don't really think they produce LEGO-themed toothbrushes at all. I can't remember the last time we actually got something like this, so they're very, very cool items to add to my collection. But I did mention one canceled Takanuva one, and well, that's actually going to be very relevant for the next item we have up here, because that canceled Takanuva toothbrush was actually supposed to come with a pearl gold Evoke, the Mask of Light. Now this is one of the rarest masks in my collection. I paid nearly $4,000 for this single piece, and the package is about to get even crazier. Here is a look at the Pearl Gold Evoke right next to the flat Dark Gold one, which is the one that came in the Toa Takanuva set. If you don't know exactly the story behind the gold plastic color change, around 2005 LEGO decided to change the color of their plastic from flat Dark Gold to Pearl Gold for gold colors. This is what resulted in the incredibly rare Pearl Gold Kanohi Kraken, as well as the Pearl Gold Visorak Carapace. But this was another casualty of that color change. When LEGO was developing the Takanuva toothbrush, the development plan stretched past 2003, going into 04 and 05, when they were starting to experiment with a different color of plastic. And that's why this particular mask was molded in the Pearl Gold color. The other really fascinating thing about this is that if you compare it next to the original official piece, the mold is actually a little bit different. The one that was going to come in the toothbrush is a little bit thinner than the actual mask. Some of the pieces just don't exactly have the same exact geometry, and while from the outside it looks around the same, it actually does have very slight differences, which make it really, really interesting and an awesome piece to add to my collection, especially because it never actually was molded in that brighter gold color, which I would say is a little more screen accurate. And finally, one very strange oddity, as I just showcased on video, is that the axle hole isn't quite tight enough to actually fit a standard Technic piece. It really slides out very easily, showing that it truly is a prototype. Altogether, I really thought that the Pearl Gold Kraken or even the Pearl Gold Visorak Carapace were going to be the rarest Pearl Gold items in my collection, but they have been absolutely blown out of the water by this item. I still can't believe I paid close to $4,000 for it, but given that basically no other ones have really appeared on the market, I'm really happy to have this super special item added to my Bionicle collection. But that's not all. On the topic of masks and mask-like items, I actually was able to obtain in the same exact package a couple of incredibly rare metal Chronicles. In 2003, to promote the Borak Call, LEGO produced a few white metal and sterling silver Chronicles, which they randomly placed inside Borak Call canisters. But the very interesting thing is they actually produced a few prototypes before deciding on what type of metal they wanted to use for these masks. Specifically, they produced a couple of masks in vacuum metal, which they never actually released in official sterling silver or white metal for the final release, meaning that arguably these prototypes might even be rarer than the ones that were officially distributed. The one in my hands right now is one of said prototypes. It is the vacuum metal Krana Sakal, which has the ability of shielding with a seeker and mental link power. Now this was a prototype casted in vacuum metal, where they basically were taking a plastic piece and then having metal be formed like a vacuum around it. They chose eventually not to produce them this way, and they even chose not to even produce the Sakal mask at all. The Zakals were the ones eventually produced, which is the one you're going to see in the white metal later on in this video, but that just makes this piece even more interesting in my opinion. Do note that there was a printing error when I was making these signs. I do have replacement signs on the way, but the names of the masks are actually switched. Like, this is the vacuum metal one, not the white metal one, and then backwards for the other piece. But you get the gist. This is essentially one of the rarest items in my collection right now, and I'm really happy to have been able to pick it up. For both of these masks, I paid close to $3,000 per piece, although I paid a little bit more for the prototype Sakal mask, because the Sakal that you're seeing right here, the white metal one, was one that actually was officially released. It also did come with the card where it says you found one of 5,000 white metal Chronicle. I am still searching for the sterling silver Chronicle. They are absolutely correct. I am still searching for that. So if you have one to sell, please do let me know in the comments, because I am trying to collect everything Bionicle related that I can. Now, I first want to take a close-up at the white metal Krana Zakal here. This one is absolutely fantastic, and I honestly think that they chose the right mold for the Krana to produce in metal. I always thought the Zakal here, which is pictured, is one of the coolest looking Chronicles. It's also arguably the most iconic one. It was the one used in the commercial when it attached itself onto Tahu's face, and this one of course has the power of Liberator and Awakening with a shielding power of 1 out of 5,000, so it is super rare, and I'm so happy to have added it to my collection. On the other hand, I'm actually a little more interested in this prototype one. I love seeing the development process behind stuff like this. This right here is the Krana Sakal with the Seeker and Mental Link power, and you can see that it's a lot shinier than the official version that they eventually landed on. It has this very bright metallic shine to it, and the connector piece is exposed plastic. It's not even metal itself, which is really interesting, which suggests that's kind of how they were able to actually produce this, which is by just taking a pre-existing plastic piece and then actually coating it around with metal. Altogether, I have always dreamed of owning some of the metal Chronicles, and I'm really happy that finally with this package I spent, I think, a little over $6,000 to get both of them, which is a lot of money, but it is now very nice to actually be able to add these to my collection and showcase them with the card as well. It also came with the original baggie they came in too, which I think is just even extra special, so super cool items, and now we can probably move on to some of the other items in the package, because this wasn't it. On the topic of prototypes, I got a chance to pick up a really special item for my collection in this same package. Pohatu is a full-on prototype, which you can see here, and you can tell because of the printed code on the front of the mask, which is something they were considering before putting them behind the masks, and also you can even see the original sticker on his foot, which showcases that this was a full-on prototype. Each of the new pieces are also very special, and it matches up with the prototypes given to me by Christian Faber, co-creator of Bionicle, like Onua here, who also has the code on the front of the mask and has all of his unique pieces feel like they are a little bit more brittle than normal LEGO elements. You can see the layering lines on how they were produced on the feet, as well as Kopaka, who I also got from Christian Faber, and you can see that he's a prototype thanks to the layering on the mask. Now, I paid nearly $5,000 for the Pohatu prototype, and again, just really happy to add it to my collection, because honestly, I really don't know of any other way I would have been able to get an item like that. I feel like only 1 or 2 of them might exist in the world. Now, finally, this was a separate purchase, but it came in at around the same time I was recording this video, so I figured might as well showcase it too. This is a prototype Liwa, and I found this on eBay. I only actually had to pay like $1,300 for it, which I think is an absolute steal, especially given that you can see that prototype sticker on the bottom of the foot, and you can see the pieces themselves were produced in white and then spray painted silver, which I find to be so interesting and very cool to just have a little piece of LEGO development history. These prototype pieces are some of my favorite items in my collection because I feel like they are so special and unique and really showcase what it takes to develop a LEGO model. So I was so happy to finally get these in my collection. But that is not all. Separately from this main Bionicle package that I got, around the same time I was kind of on like a rare Bionicle item hunt, and so I was able to pick up a couple of very interesting one-off items that I haven't really seen been covered ever before. Starting off here, we have one of the rarest items in my collection in general, which is pretty crazy to say given the collection as a whole, but this is an exclusive Toy Fair Bionicle box. Now, this box was only given away to members of the press in 2001, specifically members who attended the New York Toy Fair. Because of that, I spent $5,500 on this when all was said and done. For a cardboard box, that might seem crazy, and I don't disagree, but it is a very cool cardboard box. The electronics all still work. You can see that as you open up the box, the eyes of the Bakari light up green, and you can even see the lights around the canister light up, which is so cool. They literally are using a canister lid as its own piece, which is super cool to have that integrated in the box itself. It asks you to remove the mask if you dare, and you're about to find out what happens if you dare to remove it. The artwork is amazing, having the Toa be a black silhouette, kind of hiding them from view, inviting you to see what world and mystery this has in store is so cool, and I feel like LEGO doesn't really do anything like this anymore, but back in the day, this was such a cool way to be introduced to the world of Bionicle. Now, included inside is also a special little CD-ROM, which you could use to actually learn a bit more about Bionicle, and I find it really funny because obviously now I am living in New York, so by shipping this over to me, I've kind of reunited it with the place of origin, which is pretty cool because you can even see the address of the LEGO showroom and where to find it in New York. If only that was still open today, because I absolutely would pull up. But the coolest part of this box is yet to come. In addition to the very neat CD-ROM, which they do have available for you to actually see Bionicle content on it, which is super cool, I also love just seeing the text on the back of this, where you can see, like, they're advertising Life on Mars, Jack Stone, Dinosaurs, and Alpha Team, and also LEGO Bob the Builder of all things, which is very funny, and even the CD-ROM is printed with Bionicle. But again, if you recall, the box is challenging you to remove the mask if you dare. So let's see what happens if you do decide to remove the mask.
Bionicle, find the power. Bionicle, find the power.
Oh, I'm finding the power all right. That is so cool to see. I definitely love just having that interactive component to it, and just seeing the eyes light up is so satisfying. I think this is easily one of the coolest single promotional items I've ever seen for Bionicle out there, and to my knowledge, there's only like maybe 5 of these tops in the world, which is why it was so expensive, but so worth it to add to my collection. Moving on, we have another cardboard box. I really was on a cardboard box fix. This one I've actually had for a little bit of time, but I've actually never showcased it in the video, so I figured why not actually show it off during this video right here. I honestly don't remember how much I paid for it, but it can't have been too expensive. I think it was only a few $100s, but I honestly think it's worth a lot more than that. Now, what exactly is this? This is a box that was containing a full set of Mektorin, or the McDonald's Tohunga, to be promotional materials for people who run McDonald's stores to understand what these toys were. It's a really interesting piece of history. Obviously, the Tohunga themselves are pretty much standard. They are exactly identical to the ones that appear in the final sets, but the box itself is what is super special. Now, I am not a huge box collector. Like, I actually throw out all of my LEGO boxes, so this is very rare for me to pick up. But I wanted to pick it up because, for one, it is actually an original McDonald's promotional display piece where managers could understand what these items were. On the underside, you actually have a little printed out piece of paper showcasing each of the Tohunga, and they were technically all glued together, like the masks were glued onto the figures' faces. The way that this was supposed to work is that this was going to go inside one of the display cases. You know when you go to McDonald's and you see there's a little clear cabinet where they're advertising whatever that week or month's toys are for the Happy Meal? Well, these were the toys that were supposed to go in that cabinet, and this was the box they came in. For whatever reason, they chose not to do it, and they just kind of left these ones in the box. Who knows what was going on? Maybe the McDonald's was closing, who knows? But whatever the reason, these were never actually placed in the cabinet, which is why they are fully just 100% loose in the box, which I find to be so fascinating, and it's just such a cool piece of Bionicle development history. Of course, included inside was a Mektorin comic, which was actually given away as part of the promotion as well, which is super cool to see them actually unite in their own comic and literally merge into a Tohunga Kaida, which is something that you could do if you bought multiple copies of the sets, so that was a cool thing to advertise. And then, lastly, the main goal of this was, of course, to be able to assemble all of the Tohunga and put them on display. So I had to build them myself, and honestly, it was so much fun just putting these together, basically kind of brand new because these pieces have just been sitting in the box, and just seeing how some of the pieces just had glue marks on them, how they were trying to glue them together, particularly glue the masks to the faces so they wouldn't fall off on the display itself, which is pretty cool and very interesting to see. Seeing some of the masks come fully pre-glued onto the heads was very interesting because some of them I literally could not detach, and also just seeing some of them had like kind of fallen off over time. It was just really interesting seeing just the process in which LEGO decided to put these together for display and actually have this be a product that they sent out to different McDonald's stores to allow them to showcase Bionicle in its full. This is one of my favorite parts about how LEGO launched the Bionicle theme, and honestly I really miss it when LEGO did promotional stuff like this. Nowadays, LEGO can't even really do McDonald's toys where you actually build pieces together because McDonald's has kind of changed its rules around having pieces be choking hazards for small kids, and everything just needs to be really just made for even the youngest of kids to enjoy, so LEGO just doesn't really do stuff like it anymore, which is why recent McDonald's promotions, like stuff around the LEGO movies, has been honestly kind of disappointing. They've done a lot of like themed cups and stuff like that, which I think is kind of lame compared to this. I understand why they did it, but it is still a little disappointing. Altogether, this has summed up a series of some of the craziest Bionicle packages I have ever received in my life in a row. It's kind of wild that all of these were delivered around the same time frame, so it just made total sense to do one video showcasing all these ultra rare items, and that's not even mentioning some of the other crazy rare items I have in my collection, like the white Huna, the brown Komau, and the medium blue Kakama. All of these just really specialized items that I'm just super happy to add to my eventual LEGO museum. I am always on the hunt for promotional Bionicle material, exclusive items, stuff like that, so if you come across anything super rare and special for Bionicle, please do feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I am absolutely collecting the weird, eclectic items. I'm on the hunt for a 100% complete Krata collection. I've got the trans orange one, I've got like most of the other ones, but you know, I'm trying to get all the different types of them. Any prototypes, absolutely send my way. Any pieces molded in different colors, like the medium blue trident that I picked up from Christian Faber's collection, that was super cool to get. Just all sorts of really weird and strange items that I'm trying to just add on to really celebrate the history of one of my all-time favorite LEGO themes. I know I'm a little bit late to Bionicle Day. That was a few days ago at the time of this recording. I mean, the time of this video is going to be released, it probably was like a month ago, but you know, I wanted to do something special for Bionicle and just really celebrate it, especially with, I think, a big anniversary coming up next year, because next year is 2025, so what is that? It's going to be, oh my goodness, like 24 or 25 years of Bionicle, which is going to be absolutely nuts that it has been around for so long. But overall, hope you enjoyed taking this look at some of these special items in my collection when it comes to Bionicle. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments below, do you happen to own any of these really special items? And if not, do you have anything that I might not have in my collection that you might want to sell me? Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye for now.